The kitchen was a tomb. Charred cabinets hung like corpses from the walls, the air thick with ash and fear. 17-year-old Jaden Kincaid crouched low, clutching his sister Lena to his chest, every breath shallow and silent. Outside the shattered window, a Valari patrol drone hummed a cold, bone-deep vibration that sent shivers through the tiles. Jaden dared not move. Lena's small frame trembled in his arms, her nails digging into his back. Her breathing was quick, sharp, unnatural. A panic attack. He knew the signs. He closed his eyes and whispered into her hair, voice cracked but steady, golden rays on broken seas. "Mama sings you back to sleep." His throat tightened. Lena whimpered. The drone paused outside the window. A thin red scan line crept across the floor. Jaden didn't breathe. 6 years. 6 years of silence, of survival. No one had fought back. There had been no war, no fire in the skies. Just one day, the world blinked, and everything stopped. Phones, power, satellites all gone in a breath. Then the Valari came. 7 feet tall, metal gray skin like living chrome, faces expressionless. They didn't speak, didn't ask. They just took. Cities emptied. Resistance disintegrated before it began. The few who tried vanished. The rest hid like Jaden, like Lena, always hiding, always running. She made a soft sound, halfway between a sob and a gasp. Jaden rocked her gently, rhythmically, whispering the lullaby again. Moonlight dances, trees don't weep. Mama sings you back to sleep. But the words caught in his throat as memory returned unbidden, razor sharp. The day the world ended. The day the Valari came to their street. The night sky was quiet, eerily so. Then they arrived, silent ships like black needles puncturing the sky. His mom screaming, trying to shut the door. His dad grabbing an old pistol. "Take your sister and run," his father had said, voice low and calm in the chaos. "Don't stop Jaden, no matter what." And then he had stepped outside. The blue flash came a moment later. His mom's scream. Then silence. Jaden had grabbed Lena and bolted into the woods. That was the last time they saw their parents. 6 years. Hiding, scavenging, moving camp every few months. Lena never spoke about that day. But she had never been the same now. The drone moved on. The red light faded. Still, Jaden didn't breathe until the buzz faded down the ruined street. Slowly, he eased Lena to the floor, brushing her hair back from her clammy forehead. "We're okay," he whispered, though he wasn't sure it was true. His hands shook. His stomach growled, but hunger was secondary to fear. Always fear. He stood up to check the makeshift barricade at the back door when the floor groaned beneath him. A deep rumble, unnatural and low, echoed from beneath the earth. Lena sat up with a jolt. "Jaden," she whispered. He held out a hand, motioning for silence. Then it came, a crack violent, thunderous. The tiles beneath the kitchen table split open, glowing blue-white from below. Light shot upward in a spear of impossible brightness. Jaden shielded Lena with his body, heart hammering. From the cracked floor rose a man, or what used to be one. He was tall, scarred, half-burned, wrapped in what looked like ancient, tattered, military fatigues. His boots smoldered. His eyes glowed faintly. He hovered for a second, suspended by some unseen force, then collapsed forward, face down on the ruined linoleum. Jaden stared, mouth open. The man's lips moved, a whisper, hoarse, but unmistakable. "They took Earth," he said. "Let's take it back." Silence followed. The blue glow faded, replaced by flickering light from the shattered window. The man groaned, rolling slightly. Lena gasped. Jaden knelt beside him, checking for wounds. The man grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Name: Corin, 13th Infantry. Last line: "They buried us. Cryo chambers. Deep earth fall back. God, How long? His voice broke. He looked past Jaden, eyes glassy. They weren't supposed to win. Jaden stared, heart racing. This wasn't possible. There were no armies left, no hope. But the man was real. The scars on his arms, the smell of smoke and blood. He was real, are you saying? There are others like you? Jaden asked. Corin coughed, nodding faintly. Hundreds hidden, sleeping. Earth's old sword, forgotten, but not broken. Suddenly the house trembled again. Outside, the drone had returned, drawn by the energy surge. Red lights danced across the front walls. The Valari would come. Jaden looked to the door, to Lena, to the strange soldier, rising shakily to his feet. Corin reached for his waist, fumbling with a shattered holster. Jaden helped him up. Can you fight? Corin grinned through cracked lips. That's all I was built for, kid. Then the door exploded inward. The drone entered, laser scanning. Corin raised his arm, and a beam of old human tech plasma shot from a hidden gauntlet, cutting the drone in half mid-air. It screamed an awful, mechanical death cry and collapsed in smoking pieces. Lena shrieked. Jaden pulled her behind a wall. Corin stood in the doorway, breathing heavily. We need to go, he said. Now, before more come. They moved, fast, out the back alley, across the broken streets of what was once Sacramento. Jaden's mind raced. Who were these buried soldiers? Why now? Had Earth planned for this invasion? And why was no one awakened before? He turned to Corin. Where do we go? The man looked east, the fallback base, under the Rockies. If the others are still alive, that's where they'll be. And if they're not, then we light the match ourselves. They ran, past ruins and shadows, past a broken world where hope had died in silence. But something stirred now, something old, something human. Jaden didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in 6 years, he felt it. Not just fear, not just survival. He felt purpose. He held Lena's hand tighter, his eyes set on the distant mountains. Earth had fallen, but maybe, just maybe, it hadn't surrendered. Jaden Kincaid hadn't believed in freedom since he was 11. Not really. Not since the Valari came. Not since the sky went black without warning. Not since his father's last words. Take your sister and run. He ran, all right. From fire, from silence. From the moment the Valari came down like ghosts, quiet and clinical, shutting down humanity without a war. Now, 6 years later, at 17, Jaden barely remembered the warmth of real sunlight, the smell of clean air, or the sound of laughter that didn't end in someone disappearing. He and Lena had survived those early days in the cracked ruins of Atlanta, slipping through forgotten tunnels and the crumbling shells of parking garages. The surface was dangerous, but so was below. He learned quickly. Trust no one, share nothing, and move when you smelled ash in the air. They lived like ghosts, those humans who refused to collaborate with the Valari, choosing hunger and filth over security and betrayal. Collaborators lived behind power-shielded fences, trading dignity for Valari rations, pretending the world wasn't lost. Jaden spat at them when he saw them from the shadows, dressed in clean clothes, faces blank and hollow. But deep down, some nights when Lena cried herself to sleep and his stomach knotted from hunger, he wondered if he had made the right choice. He hadn't always been so cold. He used to smile. He used to believe in people, especially Zoe, his best friend. Maybe more than that, if things had been different. Zoe had been the one who found the ghost outposts, who brought him into the Resistance's inner circle when he was 15, who looked him in the eyes the night before the raid and said, "We do this, we give people hope again." But that raid failed. The Valari were already there. A trap, screams, blood. Jaden made it out through a service tunnel. Zoe didn't. She never came back. And something in him cracked that day. the part that believed in fighting back. From then on, it was just survival. Just Lena. That was enough. That had to be until Cain Ashford clawed his way out of the earth. It had been 3 days since the blinding light cracked the kitchen floor, since the soldier burned died, wrapped in shredded military gear, older than Jaden himself, collapsed at their feet and whispered about taking Earth back. They had moved again, deeper into the sewer tunnels, far beneath what used to be Atlanta's financial district. There, in the rusted hulk of an old maintenance hub, Jaden watched Cain slowly piece himself together. The man was scarred, inside and out, muscles like coiled rope under his torn shirt, a faded American flag patch on his shoulder. But his eyes, they held a weight Jaden didn't understand. Cain spoke like someone from a different world, one where humans fought wars and believed they could win them. When he finally told them the truth, Jaden didn't believe it. Couldn't? The government knew, Cain had said, sitting against a support pillar, his voice low and cracked. They detected anomalies, energy spikes on the lunar surface, movement in deep orbit. They didn't know what it was at first, but something was coming. We weren't ready. No one would have believed it. So they activated Protocol Warden. He looked at Jaden then. I was part of a Depops unit. 302 of us volunteered. Cryosleep, embedded beneath strategic cities, meant to be awakened if the worst happened. If Earth fell. But it did fall, Jaden whispered. 6 years ago, where were you? Cain closed his eyes. Something went wrong. I should have woken up then. We all should have. But the systems failed. Power surge, sabotage, I don't know. I was the only one the backup sequence revived. The others, I saw their pods, still sealed. No vitals. Jaden wanted to scream. So you're telling me Earth had an army It just glitched. 6 years of hiding, starving, watching friends die, and we had soldiers under our feet the whole time. I'm telling you, we were supposed to stop this before it started, Cain said. But now we fight from the ashes. Jaden stood there, fists clenched, staring at the floor, trying to keep from falling apart. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't some savior. He was just a broken teenager with a kid sister and a memory full of ghosts. The idea of fighting the Valari again, it was suicide. He'd seen what they did to resistance groups, to children, to cities. No one fought them and lived, but Cain didn't flinch. You think I don't see it in your eyes? That fear, that exhaustion, I had it too. The first time I fought in Kabul, the first time I watched a city burn because we were too late. But fear is a tool. You use it, or you let it cage you. Jaden shook his head. You don't understand. There's nothing left to save. Cain stepped closer. That's what they want you to believe. That's how they win. Without firing a shot, they bury your will. But I'm not buried anymore. And neither are you. Jaden turned away. He wanted to scream at the walls, to cry and punch something and tell this insane man to leave them alone. But Lena watched from the corner, holding her ratty stuffed dog, eyes wide with something Jaden hadn't seen in her for years, hope. And that scared him more than anything, because hope could get her killed that night. While Cain slept with one eye open and a gun in his lap, Jaden sat beside a cold pipe, listening to the drip of water, remembering Zoe's laugh, her promise, remembering the day she was caught, the last glimpse of her face as she pushed him through the grate and stayed behind. She had believed. She had died for it, and Jaden had been running ever since. He closed his eyes. The last time we were free, he whispered, was the last time I saw her. The words hung in the darkness, heavy and sharp, and for the first time in a long time, Jaden wondered if freedom was worth dying for, or if it was the only thing worth living for after all. The rain fell in oily sheets over the broken skyline of Atlanta, casting a slick sheen on the shattered glass and rusted husks of buildings long since claimed by silence. Cain moved like a shadow through the ruins, his breath shallow, eyes scanning the fog as he approached the old Valari Kamtora, black monolith pulsing faintly with energy. Its design, alien and almost organic, like it had grown out of the earth itself rather than been built. Jaden stayed behind, hidden beneath the belly of a collapsed highway overpass with Lena chewing at the inside of his cheek while he listened to the faint buzz of Kane's voice over a static-choked transmitter. Kane had a plan. He always did. Jaden didn't trust it, not really. But something about the man's presence, the way he moved, the fire in his eyes, it drew people in. It made them want to believe. Even Jaden, against his better judgment, sighed. The tower. Kane hacked the core his wrist implant, sparking as old U.S. military code engaged with Valari protocols. He gritted his teeth as the interface fought back, adaptive defense systems resisting intrusion. But the black site tech embedded in his body, over a decade ago, had been built for this very war. Long before Earth even admitted to itself that one was coming. With a final surge, the firewall cracked. A flood of encrypted messages poured in. Kane's eyes widened as lines of alien script decrypted, revealing the plan. The Valari weren't just occupying Earth anymore. They were preparing to finish it. In 30 days, a neuroagent would be released into the global water systems engineered to target specific neural patterns found in unmodified human minds. Ghosts, the resistant. It would sterilize underground networks. No blood, no bullets, just silence. A cleansing. Kane's voice came sharp and tight over the comm. We have 30 days. After that, every ghost hideout, every unregistered zone, I'll be dead. This is extinction. We stop it, or we disappear. Jaden felt the world tilt beneath him. He thought he'd stopped hoping years ago, but this made his stomach turn. He wanted to run, just grab Lena, disappear into the west, vanish into the ruins of Colorado or beyond. Let someone else save the world. But Kane was already back, slamming a dataship onto the rusted table in their sewer hideout. His face gaunt, but alive with urgency. This changes everything, Kane said. We're not scavengers anymore. We're the only line left. Jaden stepped back. I didn't sign up for this. I'm not your soldier. I just want to protect my sister. You think hiding will protect her? Kane's voice cracked like thunder. You think the Valari won't find you? Won't take her? Running didn't save your parents, Jaden. It won't save her. Jaden flinched. The truth hit harder than any blow. They needed allies, Kane said. Tech, supplies, inside intel. So he made a choice, one that Jaden couldn't believe. He went to Commander Marcus Reeve, leader of the Southeastern Collaborators, a man known for dealing with Valari tech and selling out his own kind in exchange for power. Reeve had once been a general in the U.S. Army. Now he was a polished puppet, protected by Valari guards and human thugs alike. Kane approached him under a white flag, offering a trade. The stolen Valari plans in exchange for decommissioned military hardware still functional, still deadly. Reeve smiled too easily. His eyes were cold. Of course, he said, taking the drive. Humanity needs heroes. But Jaden saw it from a distance, hiding behind a rusted truck across the plaza. He watched the moment the exchange happened and then the moment Kane was surrounded. Reeve stepped back, hands still clean, as Valari guards emerged from the shadows. Kane fought, brutally. He downed two with precision strikes, limbs like steel, but it wasn't enough. A stunned spear knocked him to his knees. Reeve turned away as Kane was dragged off in chains. Jaden's heart pounded. His feet wanted to move. His mind screamed at him to act, but fear held him down. Memories of Zoe, of the last time he tried to fight, of the blood in her mouth as she mouthed, "Run it," all paralyzed him. He stayed hidden, watched Kane disappear. He didn't even remember running back to the hideout. His breath was ragged, his limbs numb. He told himself Kane was crazy anyway, that he'd gotten what he deserved, that maybe now he and Lena could finally disappear. But the second he stepped into the old tunnel that led to their room, he knew something was wrong. The air was too still. The blanket Lena always clutched lay discarded on the ground. Hersmel's tin cup was overturned. He ran, calling her name, heart crashing in his chest like a drum. The room was empty. Outside the tunnel mouth, a low mechanical hum echoed through the alley. He turned slowly, mouth dry, knees weak. A Valari drone hovered in the air, lens scanning the area, red beams dancing over the earth. It pulsed once, then disappeared into the mist. Jaden fell to his knees. Lena was gone, and this time, there was no one left to run with. Jaden didn't sleep for 2 days. He wandered the shattered bones of the city like a ghost, silent and hollow, replaying every moment of the alley where Kane was taken. The cold flicker of the Valari drone, the empty blanket Lena left behind. He heard her voice in echoes, saw her tiny face every time he blinked. The guilt was a lead weight around his ribs, crushing him with every breath. Zoe's voice returned too, that night before the raid, her fingers gripping his wrist, her eyes burning with something he no longer understood. Faith. She had died for something. Kane was being tortured for something. Lena was alone because he ran. Every time it mattered, Jaden froze. He told himself it was survival, but the truth was simpler. It was cowardice. And now the cost had come due. Deep in the collaborator stronghold, Kane Ashford hung from a reinforced harness, his body bloodied, burns crawling up his arms where Valari electrodes had been pressed. His head lolled forward, his breath ragged, but his eyes still sharp, still watching, never yielded. Commander Reeves circled him like a jackal, voice calm and oily. "Where are the ghosts hiding, Kane? Where's the rest of your Black Ops crew? Where's the fail-safe protocol?" Kane laughed, blood choking the sound. "Your Valari friend's scared of a broken soldier." Reeves' hand trembled, just for a second, before he stepped back to allow the Valari interrogator forward, silver being with needle fingers and emotionless precision. Kane gritted his teeth and braced for another wave of agony. He knew what they wanted. He also knew what was at stake. If they got even a piece of the data he'd stolen, they could accelerate the neuroagent release. The underground would never know what killed them. But pain was nothing new. Kane had trained for it. Dying's easy, he thought. Breaking is what matters. Elsewhere, Lena sat on a smooth, cold bench beneath a domed ceiling of shifting lights. The re-education facility was eerily clean, sterile, and humming. She was dressed in a gray uniform now, her hair washed and pulled back. Around her, other children sat in rows, eyes locked onto floating glyphs in the air, their pupils dilated, their expressions blank. A Valari handler glided by silently, monitoring neural compliance levels. A small boy beside her, maybe 7, whispered, "Don't answer when they ask your name. They use it against you." His name was Tomas. He'd been here for months. Lena didn't know what they were doing to her. Not exactly, but her thoughts felt foggy, like someone else was rearranging them. ZZ Ed, too close. Golden rays on broken seas. Jaden finally collapsed in an abandoned subway shaft, face pressed to rusted gravel. He didn't remember crying, but his face was wet. He would have stayed there forever if someone hadn't stepped on his leg. A rough voice snarled, "Move or die, kid." He jolted up, facing a woman with a shorn head, a mechanical arm, and a pistol holstered under her ragged coat. She introduced herself as millismuggler, saboteur, and former systems engineer for the Valari. She'd escaped after watching her daughter disappear into the same re-education program Lena was now trapped in. Milla didn't waste time with sympathy. "You want to sit here rotting in guilt? Fine. But I'm getting my daughter back. You want to save yours. Get up." Jaden followed. He didn't know why, only that she moved with purpose and fire, and he had known left of his own. Mila knew the old power grids, the signal loops, the black market routes in and out of collaborator zones. She could forge access tags, disrupt Valari surveillance paths, and assemble jury-rigged explosives from scrap. She was brutal. But beneath her steel, Jaden saw the cracks, the haunted eyes, the tremor in her fingers when she touched the locket around her neck. Then, one night, just as Jaden was beginning to think they were chasing shadows, a flickering light sparked from a corner of the subway wall. A hologram. Kane's face bloody, bruised, but alive hovered before them. "If this message reached you," he said, voice hoarse, "then I triggered the failsafe. I don't know where I am. I don't know if I'll live. Doesn't matter. What matters is you, Jaden. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing to do what it takes. Willing to start the fire." Then the image glitched out. Jaden stared at the spot for a long time. Mila waited, silent. Then, slowly, he stood. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't tremble. "We're not just getting her out. We're going to shut that facility down. We're going to burn it to the ground." Mila raised an eyebrow. "You got a plan?" Jaden nodded once. "We build one." That night Jaden pored over old resistance maps, Mila's stolen files, Kane's decrypted code fragments. They traced the neuroagent distribution system to an aquifer grid near the re-education center. They learned that Lena's facility also doubled as a security relay shut it down, and they could sever a regional Valari node. But they'd need explosives, EMPs, stealth suits, and collaborators. On the inside, Jaden found himself sketching infiltration patterns, predicting patrol rotations, mapping neural blind spots. Each choice hardened him. He no longer flinched when planning kills. He no longer hesitated at the word sacrifice. He didn't know if Kane was still alive. He didn't know if Lena would even remember him when he found her. But for the first time in his life, Jaden didn't feel like he was running. He was marching to war. The sky over Atlanta was the color of old blood, heavy, with dust and ash as Kane Ashford emerged from the collaborator stronghold like a ghost risen from hell, his eyes dull with pain and fire. They had kept him chained for 10 days, pumped full of paralysis drugs, and burnt his nerves raw. But they had underestimated the remnants buried in his spine. Ancient Earth tech, long dismissed as defunct by the Valari, a prototype neural override system linked to an embedded implant behind his ear. It was meant for battlefield command. It had found something better. One Valari guard, a scout drone variant, had wandered too close during a blackout. Kane latched on his mind, forging a brutal interface, and for 12 minutes, he wore the creature like a suit. It was enough. The escape was bloody, primitive. The facility burned. Kane didn't look back. He found Jaden and Mila in a drainage lockup near the southern ridge. His skin peeled in places, his ribs cracked, his body trembling. But his eyes held purpose again. "She's in there," he said simply, "and we're going in." The re-education center stood like a black cathedral, once Emory University's main library tower, now fused with Valari alloy, ringed by pulse turrets, and humming with low-frequency programming tones. Jaden's heart beat in his throat as they entered through the underground duct Mila had mapped. It stank of chemicals and sterilization fluid, the kind Jaden hadn't smelled since before the world ended. Inside, alien machines pulsed over glass. Halls where children shuffled silently from room to room, minds half frozen, eyes blank. Mila whispered directions, hacking internal doors, while Kane silently dispatched guards with brutal efficiency. Jaden watched him move, quick, decisive, deadly. But something was off. Kane didn't speak. He didn't blink. When they passed a hall of younger kids in sensory sleep pods, his hands trembled. Then Jaden saw her. Through a thick sheet of obsidian glasselina, her hair was shorter now, braided, her face thinner, her eyes empty. She sat still while projection nodes blinked over her skull. She didn't even flinch when he whispered her name. Mila cursed softly. "She's deep. They've re-encoded her. It'll take hours to unwind it properly." Kane reached for his gun. We don't have hours. Jaden stepped forward, voice shaking. There's got to be another way. Kane didn't answer. Instead, something in him broke. He charged the next hallway like a storm, downing Valari guards with savage abandon. His face blank, his breathing loud and erratic. He kicked open a training room door, where half-human child soldiers were kneeling for programming drills, and opened fire. Jaden chased after him, screaming, "Kane, stop!" A small boy, a collaborator's son, not more than 9, forward, hands raised, sobbing. Kane raised his sidearm. His eyes flickered not with rage, but something else. Memory. Flash. A daughter. Brown hair. 7 years old. Laughed like chimes. Cried when the power failed. Kane saw Lena in the child's face. No, he saw her. The one they never told him died during the cryo-freeze. He had volunteered to save her future. They'd buried her body before he ever woke up. Jaden stepped between Kane and the child. "We're not like them," he said softly, hands shaking. "We don't kill scared kids." For a moment, everything went still. Then Kane dropped the gun, fell to his knees, and for the first time, he cried, not in pain, not from rage, but from memory, from grief, the kind that never had time to exist in war. Mila didn't interrupt. She was already at the terminal, typing faster than Jaden could track, her mouth a line of steel. But her fingers slowed when she reached the core system. Lena's brain chip wasn't just active, it was rooted in code Mila had written 8 years ago, back when she was a star engineer in Valari Neurolabs. She had built the scaffolding for compliance training, never knowing it would be used on children. She stared at the interface, nausea rising. "I can pull her out," she whispered, "but it's mapped to my neural signature. That was part of the design. If I go in, I don't come back." Jaden turned to her. "What does that mean?" "It means I merge with the system," Mila said. "I guide her out, and I get locked in." Jaden shook his head. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," she said quietly. "I built this prison. I know the locks. I'm the only one who can open them." He wanted to stop her, wanted to believe that she didn't have to do this. But when she touched Lena's face through the glass, there was something maternal there, something ancient and raw. Her daughter had died in the same kind of chair. Mila turned once more, smiled faintly, and stepped into the neural chair. The screen flickered. Jaden held Lena's hand as Mila's body went limp. Somewhere deep inside the machine, 2 mothers finally met. One was steel, one was memory, and in their exchange, a child was freed. The moment Mila's eyes closed, the screen went white. Jaden held his breath as Lena gasped, her pupils dilating, a tremor running down her spine. Her fingers clenched his. She blinked once, twice, then whispered, "Jaden," and he broke, collapsing forward, wrapping her in his arms, tears spilling down his face, because she remembered him. Mila was gone. The neural chair shorted in a quiet whine, her body limp, peaceful, her final act written into Lena's rescue. Jaden held his sister tighter, knowing the woman who had saved her had once built the very system that enslaved her hand, died reversing it. Kane stood in silence beside them, blood crusted to his shoulder, his face unreadable, but he saluted. Mila's body, a crisp, military gesture, from a world long buried. They didn't have time to mourn. The facility was on lockdown. Valari reinforcements were already moving in. Kane led them through the emergency ductwork, Jaden carrying Lena, her head against his chest. They emerged 3 miles south, where the tunnels curved into the sewer vein Mila had mapped weeks ago. Back at the hideout, Jaden laid Lena on a cot and turned to Kane. "It's not enough," he said, saving her, stopping one center. "It's not enough." Kane didn't speak, just watched him with something like approval. Then he unrolled an old resistance schematic one Mila had hidden in her last data dumpa, Valari satellite uplink core located beneath what used to be Cape Canaveral, converted into a command relay tower. If they could breach it, even briefly, They could hijack the Valari communications grid, not to broadcast orders, but to show the world that resistance wasn't dead, that the myth of Valari invincibility was just that, myth. The mission was suicide. Jaden knew it, Kane knew it, but they went anyway. The journey was long, brutal, riddled with nerve captures and firefights, but each step forward felt different. Now, Jaden no longer flinched when shots rang out. He gave orders without apology. He studied Valari patterns, predicted responses, learned how their machines thought, and Lena, though still recovering, began to hum the lullaby again softly, gently, each note proof that she was healing, that what Mila gave them mattered. They reached the satellite core under the cover of a magnetic storm that shorted external sensors. Kane fought like a machine possessed, leading Jaden and a small ghost crew through tight corridors and alien tech halls, every step deeper into the heart of the enemy's command. They reached the uplinked minutes to override. The Valari descended. Explosions rocked the base. Kane took a spear through the side but kept moving, yelling coordinates, locking, in the transmission. And then, on every stolen screen, every blacked-out projector in ghost zones across the earth, the message appeared. Kane, bloody and limping, staring directly into the lens. This is not the end. They took our cities. They took our skies. But they will never take what's buried in the bones of this planet. We are the storm, and we are awake. Then images. Lena safe, Mila still body, children rescued, soldiers standing tall, and across the world, something shifted. In the ruins of old Shanghai, ghosts rallied. In the jungles of Nigeria, a hidden cell detonated a collaborator stronghold. In the tundra above Anchorage, humans dragged down a Valari scout ship with cables and grit. Even collaborators began defecting, breaking ranks, sabotaging their alien overlords from within. The Valari responded with overwhelming force, but it was too late. The illusion had shattered. Kane lay in a corner of the relay room, breath rattling, blood soaking his uniform. Jaden knelt beside him, eyes wet, his hands over the wound. Kane gripped his arm, coughed, smiled. "You don't need 100 warriors," he whispered. "Just one with nothing left to lose." Jaden nodded, not as a boy, not as a survivor, but as something else now. A leader. Weeks passed. They buried Kane beneath the old launch pad, marking his grave with the fragments of his broken gauntlet. Lena sat quietly by the fire that night, sketching on a torn piece of ration paper. She drew their family, mom, dad, her and Jaden, Mila, and Kane, with fire in his eyes. Standing tall, the war wasn't over. But something deeper had begun. Earth remembered itself. 1 month passed like a lifetime. The world was still hollowed, skies dim, the air thick with the memory of ash, but something had shifted in the bones of the earth. Whispers of uprising turned into structure. Ghost zones became sanctuaries. Children once silent, now painted walls with color again. Lena hadn't spoken since the re-education center, not until that morning, when the static-filled broadcast channel finally linked with the wideband relay Kane had died to unlock. The makeshift studio was no more than a rusted control room buried beneath what used to be an old train depot. The walls covered in maps, scrawled messages, and lists of the dead. Jaden adjusted the signal dial, while Lena stood in front of the mic, pale but steady, her hand wrapped around the tattered drawing she had made of Kane. Her voice cracked slightly as it came through the speakers, but it held strength, quiet, ancient strength. "They came with no warning," she said, eyes staring past the metal walls as if she could see the entire planet. "They didn't speak, didn't ask, just took. But Earth had a secret. Not a weapon, not an army. Just people who refused to break." He didn't have a cape, just scars. The feed cut to old footage. Kane, standing over a pile of burning wreckage, bloodied but defiant. Jaden dragging Lena through tunnels. Mila's hands pressed to a neural interface, eyes glowing with resolve. Then came the soundless roar of uprisings, humans raising makeshift banners, tearing down Valari towers, children marching in line not for war, but for reclamation. Outside, the wind shifted across a battered hillside, where Jaden now stood, older than his years, his jacket stitched with the symbol of the underground resistance, Kane's dog tags gripped in his palm. Before him stood a gathering young survivors, scavengers, old soldiers, collaborators who had changed sides. Behind him, the new flag waved not of any one nation, but of Earth itself, pieced together from scraps, denim, tarp, leather, old shirt, stitched by those who had nothing left but their will. Jaden raised the tags high, the crowd silent, reverent. Far above, a shadow broke the clouds, slow, deliberate. A Valari mothership, massive and once godlike, slipped from orbit, engines flaring blue and silent. It didn't explode. It didn't fall. It left quietly, as if recognizing it had lost more than a battle. It had lost fear. Lena's voice came again, softer now, over the fading signal, over the wind, over the planet. They thought we were weak. They forgot who built this world. And in that final moment, Earth didn't cheer. It breathed. For the first time in years, it breathed.